The project is to put a swing up against my big maple tree here, and I didn't see a lot of explanations of how to do this online, so I'm just sort of came up with something on my own. Well, I'll explain what's been done so far, and then we can sort of take it from there. So you can see that there's it's all 4x4, and there's a little piece here that is anchored to the tree that supports the cross piece. And I'll just walk up here and show you how I did that. So the first step in the process was I found, obviously got the 4x4s, I looked at a little bit of a design, I cut them all, and I stained them. So I put about 5 or 6 coats of stain on it, just so that it's nice and protected. You'll notice that this 4x4 is a really, really old one. I actually dug it out of my basement when I was doing renovations, and it's very, very solid. So I wanted to reuse it for this purpose. So the first thing I did is, obviously I cut those and I stained them, as I mentioned. Then I put this one here. The purpose of that is to support the cross piece. So this one thing to pay attention to is you got to look at the tree. Obviously the trees aren't perfectly lined up vertically. So sometimes you'll have to cut the top of this one off a little bit at a different angle to make sure the cross piece sits flat and level. Up on the top here, I'll show you, I put 2 1/2-inch leg bolts, and these are 8 inches long. So those come down through here into this piece right here, down to about here, just above where I put this leg bolt in here. So just one quick note on the leg bolts that I'm using. I mentioned the ones on the top are 1/2 inch. The ones here are 3/8. So they're essentially like that, 3/8 inch, and they're 8 inches long. So normally it would go in about that much into the tree. So just a quick note on hardware for this angle brace. Obviously the 8-inch screw, that would be a little bit much for this one here. It'd come out the top. So that one, I'm gonna do a 6-inch, okay? So it'll come right up in here, and I'll put it closer to the bottom here so it doesn't get close to the top, but it'll anchor it really nicely there, I think, maybe right about here. And then of course in the bottom, as I'm anchoring it against the tree, I want to make sure to do the 8-inch, obviously. One's done, but it's not solid enough yet. I've got one last piece of support that I want to put on it, and the support that I want to put on it is something that's going to join the end of it. So I'm going to get this chain. So that's a 3/8 inch chain, 7 feet long, and what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to take it and I'm going to wrap it around the end here. So I'm actually going to put a 6-inch carriage bolt through. I pre-drilled a hole from the top to the bottom, and it's going to join the chain on the top, and I'm going to wrap the chain around, and it's also going to take a link on the bottom. So it'll wrap right around the edge, so it won't split the wood or what have you. And then that chain is going to go up here, and I'm going to bolt it up to the trunk of the tree with some of the 6-inch leg bolts. I don't think I need 8-inch because it'll be right against the tree. So, all right, so this is the look of the chain at the end of the cross piece. So as you can see up here, well, this is a carriage bolt. It's not designed for this. It's designed to go straight into wood, and the little hex part here will dig into the wood to allow you to turn it. And I put a washer up here as well, which doesn't fit properly. But anyway, it's a bit of a, I would have preferred a hex head carriage bolt, but my hardware store didn't have any of those. So I work with what I got. And then up on the other side here, you can see I've got a washer, a lock washer, and then a nut. I'm gonna put another. All right, it's almost dark, so I'll have to go in, but I showed you this joint up here. I now put the chain, all the way up back to the trunk of the tree. So I decided to add a second chain. So this is the first chain that I put up. It's a 6-inch leg bolt there, and then that connects down here. And then you can see I just put a little connector to the chain that was already there. And then I brought the second chain up here. The issue I find is the chains still have a bit of give. So I have a little idea, I think, for how to really, really tighten them up, because they move a fair bit. So it's hard to get some tension on them. So I'm going to do that next. I'm going to put another bolt in below that one and suck the chain back into the tree a little bit more as a way of tightening it up. So I did put another bolt in, so you can see that this one right here, it pulls the chain a bit closer to the tree. You can see it still have a little bit of space here. I could pull it in a little bit more, but it is pretty tense already, so I don't know how much more I have to do it. I could also do it with that one. I could put another could put another bolt right through there and bring those last 2 links in closer to the tree, and it would. So this is the completed look of it. I put the swing on here. That's pretty straightforward. I didn't feel I needed to show it. The supports are up here. It's pretty easy. You just put in the 4 leg bolts in each. The holes are there. I put the second chain on. I put a second bolt on the second chain as well because I tested it out and the chains were a bit too loose. All right, so I changed a few things from the way it was done before because it just really wasn't working. I moved the position of the chains. So you can see this chain, it's out further to the side rather than being straight up against the tree. If you come back over this way, you can kind of see the chains make more of a V. They come further out to the side as opposed to just straight up against the tree. I just put 1 lag bolt on either side, and then in order to take the tension out of the chain, I put what I call a turnbuckle. So it's a little piece like this, you might recognize that. I hooked it onto 2 pieces of the chain, 1 on either side, and then you just twist it, and it actually takes up an immense amount of slack. You can see the pins were all the way out at the edge when I first did that, and so it's taken up probably about 8 inches of slack. So it's amazing, and the whole swing structure is much more solid for that. So I did that also with the other chain. So it was too bad I had to end up putting so many holes in the tree, but it's much better that way. You can get a good look here. They have to go out to the side because it's providing a bit of vertical support, but it's primarily also lateral support. The one other thing that I did is you can see on the end piece here, I have the chains not just, if they both attach to the top of the 4x4, the 4x4 itself was twisting, so I had to bring it around and attach it to the bottom. 1 at the top and 1 at the bottom, so it counterbalances and the 4x4 doesn't twist around. So, all right, so just one final adjustment that I made, and I noticed that when these chains up here, I was tightening them up, it was taking up all the slack, and the nose here was being pulled way up. And I think part of the problem is underneath here, you can see when we get out of the shadow, originally I just had the 2 bolts on the top, the 2 leg bolts, but what happened is my support is actually right up at the top here, and when I was tightening the chains, it was actually pulling up the bottom part here. So what I did is I slacked off the chains and I tightened up the original 2 ones, and I also put 1 here on the bottom to keep the bottom a little bit tighter. And also when I tightened up the bolts, the leg bolts, I sank them into the wood a bit, because I think most of the time when you put in bolts like this, you kind of assume that, well, if you've got your washer flush against the wood, it's pretty tight. But because those chains are so heavy and because they pull so much, I feel like I sunk them right into the wood here a little bit just to make sure that there's no play in there. So when I tighten the chains back up again, I'm really hoping that there's not a lot of play here and it stays nice and tight against the tree. So one last thing that I'm going to do, probably won't necessarily film it, but it's pretty straightforward. But the same way that in the bottom of the 45-degree support piece, I put this additional bolt in here to hold the bottom piece, because the chain twisted it up like this as it pulled. You can also see when you come here to the cross piece, you can see here that this is lifted up, right? So this is the cross piece that, because the chains are here pulling from the end, it's lifting this up a little bit here. So I'd probably put just 4-inch bolts there. I don't have any right now, but I'll probably do that. And I think if I'm able, I'll slack off the chains, put those in, and try and pull this together completely. And if I do that, I may actually get it somewhat close to level, which the fact that it's not level kind of bothers me.